this moment demands the very best we can get in our public officials. We have a lot of people who are ambitious first or ambition first politicians, and we've got so much partisan divide in our country right now. And, regardless if you're on the Republican side or the Democratic side, I just think we need people that are going to seek public office for the right reasons. I've spent most of my career in public service, whether it's in the military, serving in the U.S. Coast Guard, or serving local government, in Mount Pleasant or Hilton Head Island. And I've seen the impacts of when you have politicians that are in positions where they can actually do some good, and instead they use it as a way to highlight or elevate their own profile for themselves, rather than than the people they serve.
I mean, you ran 4 years ago, didn't
Mhm.
didn't make it all the way. Michael Moore obviously got that
2 years ago.
nomination. Two, sorry, yes, you're right.
Well,
God,
actually, it was last year. Yeah,
it feels like two. Yeah,
I
oh my
know,
God, it
right?
was
Yeah,
last year. Never
yeah,
mind. God, it just feels like 4 years already. So,
yeah,
it's like the 6 months that have been 9 years already. So,
yeah.
you're right. It was just last. So, it really was just a turnaround from last year. What do you think is different for you this time around in this position running for this office?
Yeah. Last year I ran in the primary, came up under 700 votes short. Um, and while that was a loss, I'm, not entirely disappointed in that outcome. We were outraised and outspent 2-1 compared to my opponent. So we were able to do a lot with a little. And the results spoke for themselves. And as a first time candidate, you don't know what you don't know. And so I've been through it before. There are plenty of examples on both sides of the aisle of people who've ran for public office and they fall short their first time around. But I've spent the last few months, or probably about 6 months now, with an exploratory committee. And so one of the things I wanted to do was go up to DC, make sure that there was going to be that investment, people that believe that this seat can actually be flipped, and also go around the district and meet with voters across the political divide, hear from them, and make sure that, one, they know that this district is one that can be won, by a Democrat, but also hear from even people who aren't Democrats to say, you know, what are they looking for out of their representative, and do they feel that they have that right now with Nancy Mace? Do they like the direction that the country is moving in right now? And so all of those conversations have led me to the point where I am now, and that is to run for this seat.
About being a first timer the last time and learning something that a lot of people have run a first time and not won. What do you think is your biggest takeaway other than the exploratory committee you were talking about that you took away from this first run and that you're going to bring into this time around?
I I think, I mean, it was always my objective when I was running in the primary to try to reach out to as many voters as possible. And so, and I was actually really proud that we were able to build a strong coalition of bipartisan support. There were Republicans who actually voted in the Democratic primary last cycle for me, that donated to our campaign. Um, I think that, unfortunately, where we are in this country, where fundraising matters so much, that's how you are able to communicate the most effectively. So making sure that we have a professional team is something I've taken a lot of time to make sure that I've vetted everyone properly, and that we've got the very best team that we have, so that when people make their donation, which is really an investment, it's an investment to their future, because who they elect is largely going to be who is delivering the results for them or not. So I want to make sure that for every dollar that somebody invests into our campaign, that they're going to get the ROI, and that ROI is going to help us win a seat.
Obviously, Nancy Mace announcing for governor today or as tomorrow, yesterday, as it would be when we're looking at this here. You have been very active on social media, among otherwise, against what she's been doing and how she's been doing it. What changes now that she won't be running for this seat, apparently, and that you're going to have somebody completely different? Is it still your views are what you're going to focus on, or do you still run against the other side?
Well, first and foremost, I'm not running and never have been decided to run for a public office just to run against a particular individual. I'm very dissatisfied with the current congresswoman, and she's just announced for governor today, as you said. There's a long time though between now and March when filing opens to be put on the ballot. So we'll see if she can actually garner the necessary support she'll need to be competitive in the primary. But at the end of the day, no, I mean, what I'm running on are the issues, the actual policy issues that are impacting people's lives. And I'm again somebody who has been on the front lines in terms of securing our borders, our maritime borders when I was a member of the Coast Guard, and then also working in local government to produce results, whether that's securing millions of dollars in federal money for beach renourishment, protecting our environment, affordable housing, and public safety and public health matters. And so, I'm running on issues that we care about here in the first congressional district, largely across party lines, regardless if you're on the Republican side or the Democratic side.
Hot topic for a lot of voters here has been 287G. The fact that Beaufort County Sheriff has agreed to step into it, says it's only going to be one or two deputies, but obviously there are a lot of people who are very worried here and very concerned about what 287G is and how it's going to be implemented and how it has been implemented around the country. Where are you on 287G and what it means for our area?
I'm a no for 287G, especially as it stands right now. And in fact, something that Nancy Mace was incredibly disingenuous about last cycle, and she talked about it today during her announcement speech, was, you know, she went after Charleston County Sheriff, former Sheriff Kristen Graziano, because she was not a party to 287G. Well, there were only two sheriffs last cycle, last year, who were actually party to the 287G agreement with ICE. Many counties have not signed on to it because it's actually a financial loser for our sheriff's offices and for our counties. We actually get stuck with paying more of the bill than we actually get from ICE. And I think the other thing too is, you know, what the administration, what they ran on, Donald Trump ran on getting violent criminals off the street, right? We heard of MS-13 and going after these gang members, getting them off the streets and deporting them. But that's not all they're going after. They're also going after grandmothers. They're going after veterans. They're going after children. These people who have been in our communities, who contribute to our society in large part. And I don't think that that's what the American people signed up for.
Obviously, the fiscal damages that it's being done, the damage that is being done in a lot of communities around here, especially, obviously we're a tourism community. And could it affect us somewhere down in this Beaufort County, Hampton County, Jasper County sort of area there? Your financial sort of feelings on what's going on or, the tariffs, et cetera, what needs to be done or what do you see that's not being done right now that's going to be dangerous for us?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Trump has totally just hijacked any decision when it comes to tariffs. And tariffs are supposed to be under the purview of Congress. So that's a huge issue. I think that Congress needs to take that back. What we're seeing on the Republican side is they just want to do whatever Donald Trump says, and it's having drastic effects. And I think that we will see the ramifications of this tariff policy play out over the next 6 or 7 months. I mean, the fact is that a lot of U.S. based companies and retailers they stocked up over the winter. So we still have goods that are sitting offshore that are remaining there, and that's why we haven't felt a lot of the impacts of the tariffs. But when those goods start coming into the country, they will be subject to that tariff, and much of those costs will go to the U.S. consumer. We've already seen U.S. auto manufacturers take significant hits. GM reported that these tariffs have cost them over $1 billion last quarter, just in one quarter. So this is a disastrous policy, not just for the country, but especially for the low country, especially for where we have one of the largest ports in the country up here in Charleston, for example. And that has its impacts, even though the Port of Savannah is not in the district, it's not in the state of South Carolina. We certainly have a lot of folks who live in Beaufort County who work there.
Reach out a little bit because there have been, I think, when you look at the candidates by nature in this district, they've come from Charleston, they've come from Mount Pleasant in that area. What is your connection back to Beaufort County, and what do you tell the people of Beaufort County when it comes to you being their candidate as well, not just someone from that Charleston area?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And I'd say this, I mean, I served down there. I was the general counsel for the town of Hilton, for the town of Hilton Head Island. And so I understand a lot of the local needs down there, a lot of the differences between, what Beaufort is experiencing, what Hilton Head is experiencing, Bluffton, and at the end of the day, I've spent a lot of time down there in Beaufort County. In fact, I would say that back to your question of sort of what have I learned, I would say that I probably spent too much time in Beaufort County last cycle. And I love going down there. It's funny, my dad lives up here in Mount Pleasant and he keeps threatening to move to Beaufort. And I'm like, please do it. I'd love to have somewhere to stay down there. But so I understand the unique needs of Beaufort. We also have a strong military presence down there with the Marines. We have a large veteran community down there, and I've spent a lot of time making that outreach to them. And that's another issue that I will run on, have run on before, is making sure that we're taking care of our military community, our veterans, and our retirees, making sure that they have the infrastructure down there that's necessary to support them.
Obviously, this district has been gerrymandered a little farther red if you look at it from in the past. Right now, there's still legal challenges out there for that. What do you do
Mhm.
to appeal to more of those voters now that are in this district than maybe that were there in the past from that Republican side, from that red side?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I mean, this district was gerrymandered. Three-judge district court panel found that it was racially gerrymandered, and the Supreme Court ended up disagreeing with that decision. But nevertheless, was significantly gerrymandered. Um, but I think it's important to remember this, that in 2018, this district was flipped, and a Democrat won when we were at, I think it was an R10 or an R plus 11 district. In 2023, this district was R plus 8. Last year, this district was ranked R plus 7. And right now, it's ranked R plus 6. So we are right there, literally in that swing district territory, which means that this is an independently minded district for the most part. This is also the only district in South Carolina that did not vote for Donald Trump in the Republican presidential primary last year. So I think that staying outside of the divisive politics that we see right now, talking about issues that are going to actually impact people, talking about protecting, not ripping from Social Security to pay for reckless tax cuts that really don't benefit anyone except for the ultra wealthy. I'm not going to see much of a benefit by way of the what is officially called the one big beautiful bill, and I have other words for it. Um, but I think that people ultimately are tired of seeing the divisive nature of really a reality TV style politics that we see up there in Washington, D.C. And I'll also say this too. I mean, I think people want to have a representative that they can feel proud of, that they think they're actually doing a good job to represent them. And so that means not having incidents where you're in a beauty store, for example, and when a constituent asks you when you're going to hold a town hall, that you just go off on them and start cursing them out. I always ask people, if you were going to go into court and Nancy Mace was your lawyer, how hard do you think the judge would throw the book at you? It would probably be pretty hard. And that's not somebody that you want advocating for you in court. And it shouldn't be somebody that you want advocating for you up there in Washington, D.C. And although Nancy Mace is now running for governor, at least for the time being, I think this is the time where people really need to consider what they want out of their representative. Think about what we could have if we had a representative who was up there advocating on their behalf with integrity, honest, and with their best interest at heart.
So you're the first one in so far for this position. A couple other Democrats are out there, at least saying that they have formed exploratory committees, et cetera. Are you
Hmm.
guys going to be unified in some way as well during this time, even during the campaign? Obviously, you will have differences and you're running for this office, but how much can you do when it comes to fighting each other when you know you need to be unified in the long term to try to make this work?
Well, I have no, I cannot fault anybody who wants to get into politics for the right reason. So, if there's other people who are going to jump in and they're running and their heart's in the right place, I can't fault anyone for that. And I also can't speak for them in terms of, how they're going to run their race. I think at the end of the day, each candidate has to run their race. They have to make the case to the people of the low country for why they're the best candidate. And then ultimately it's up to the people. So my job right now until the primary, if we have a primary, and then more so for the general election, is to make the case to the people of the low country, the citizens here, that I will represent them the best out of any of the other candidates.
And just sort of close with that for me then. Mac Deford, the person, the candidate, what would you want to tell these people in this early stage of the campaign on who you are and what you want to do for them?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say this. Look, I'm a husband, I'm a father. He'll be 10 months in about a week. I'm raising a family here. I served in the Coast Guard in part in Charleston. And I've worked in our local governments as well, really just trying to find solutions that help people. Most of my career has been in public service, and trust me, I'm not in public service for the money. When you're a junior enlisted member of the Coast Guard, you're not making the big bucks, and you're living rent to rent and somehow managing to get by. So I experience a lot of the issues that everyone else experiences, and I think that you know, I would just put to people that if you're ready for some sort of change, to really look at your candidates, and you can visit our website at defordforcongress.com. That's DEFORD, the word for Congress.com, and you can learn more about our campaign.